Episode 17 of Better Than Yesterday podcast, an interview with Tim Ford. Hi, this is Paweł and you're listening to my podcast, which in Polish is called Lepszy niż wczoraj, and in direct translation it means better than yesterday. This is the first episode that is recorded in English. All of the 16 previous episodes were in Polish. Here's the thing. I've been running a Polish channel on YouTube. You can find it in the show notes below. When I do short clips about triathlon, about diet, about plant-based nutrition, about cycling, about New Zealand, about basically anything that comes to my mind, and it is about around my life. And it's all in Polish. But there are a lot of people worth talking to that are not Polish, and I thought that probably majority of my audience should be able to understand English, and this will give me an opportunity to show what I'm doing and what Tim does as well to broader audience. So here it is, the first episode that is in English. If you have trouble understanding it, I'm sorry, there will be more coming in Polish. I was wondering if I should create a separate channel for that, or I should create separate podcasts. To be honest, we'll see. I don't know if it's going to be something that I do regularly or maybe that I do on occasion. We'll see what's the response to this one and if you guys like it or not. Few words about me if you are listening for the first time. I'm Paweł. I live in New Zealand. I'm 35 years old. I came to a sport of triathlon because of my, I wouldn't say obesity, overweight, and in general unhealthy way of living. I was a smoker for about 10 years. I had a really stressful life before I found the sport of triathlon and sport in general, and it all changed. Basically, that's the gist of it. I don't want to talk anything more right now. Like I said, it's not about me here. It's more about my guest, and my guest is Tim Ford. I met him about 2 years ago in Thanyapura in Phuket, Thailand. He is a machine. What he did is beyond comprehension for many people, I would say. Because of triathlon, he lost probably around 60 kilograms, but he doesn't want to talk about that much, because every single interview that he gives, every single talk that he does is about weight loss. And this is how he reacted when I told him that I don't want to talk about weight loss, but I would like to talk to him about triathlon, about training, and how he got to where he is right now.
Thank you.
And man, I have to tell you that this is quite a good piece of information, because what he did, he basically finished his first Olympic triathlon within 4 hours and 5 minutes. For an Olympic triathlon, he probably was last, or dead last, or next to last, or something like that. And right now he is aiming for doing 4:05 for double the distance, which is 70.3 or half Ironman. His best half Ironman till date is I think 4:17 or 4:15, so he's getting pretty close there. And I wanted to talk to him about how he got there, how he went from the guy who was able to do Olympic distance in a very slow time to be the one of the top of his age group. So this is basically the whole talk. We talked about nutrition a little bit, we talked about training a lot, we talked about what he did that gave him the biggest progress, etc., etc. So I hope you will enjoy this talk. Please let me know in the comments below. Thanks. I have Tim Ford with me here, and I met him around 2 years ago in Thanyapura, I think. First time in real life, and we've seen each other on races a couple times. He lives in Australia, and while he started with the weight loss angle, he's right now high performance athlete on top of the age group, and I would like to learn from him a little bit about how to get to that point in the racing career. So, hello, Tim.
Hey, man, how you going?
Good. Winter is coming, unfortunately, in here, but surviving somehow.
And you've got it worse than we do, because I think New Zealand's known for being a bit colder than Australia. So
it is rainy. That's the biggest problem, because I can manage cold. I'm from Poland. We have minus 20 there, but if it's raining, then the training goes into shit, and there's traffic in the roads. Auckland is big in terms of traffic, so I try not to drive as much as I can. But in winter it doesn't work always. I guess how it is in Sydney.
It's pretty clear, but it's definitely getting cold. We had a weird sort of hot spell a couple of days, but it's cooled right back down again, which sucks.
So indoor swimming only?
I'm on a break at the moment, so I'm not. I haven't trained for about a week and a half now, so no swimming.
Was that the biggest break since you start training in your life?
No, I took 2 weeks off at the start of last year as well. My coach tries to allocate a 2-week block of complete recovery. Sort of at the end of every season. We just moved it a little bit differently this year, because my last race, which was normally at the end of January, was moved to April this year. So we just had to reschedule everything.
Okay, before we start talking about the specifics of your training, maybe just to put in context who you are and how your road to triathlon started, could you, in few sentences, tell people about your journey from the average guy to I would say big guy to an athlete?
Yeah. Okay, so I a few years ago, 5 or 6 years ago now, I had a friend sign me up for my first race, an Olympic distance, which I thought would be not that big a deal. So I did the race, weighing over 120 kilos. It took me 4 hours 5 minutes, which was ridiculously long, and sort of didn't enjoy it that much, but was very happy that I finished, and then walked away and thought I quite liked this sport and wanted to get better. So I started to train, and in the process of training for triathlon, I lost over 50 kilos and started to get a bit faster and did more races and stepped up to the 70.3 distance. I've done, I think 22 of them now. And now I'm trying to do a 70.3 in 4 hours, 5 minutes, the same time that it took me to do that first Olympic distance.
And you're pretty close to do that right now, right? What's your best time?
I did 4:17 in a race in January, and I was hoping to go 4 hours 10 at my last race, but we had some issues that made that not possible. So I'm definitely starting to get closer. I think it used to be a dream, but I think it's now something that it's a matter of time when I do it.
So after your first race, that was probably a bit of a disaster. With 4 hours for an Olympic distance is a long time to do. How, you said that you started to like the sport straight away, or did you dread it and thought, that was bad?
I didn't like running. It took me a long time to like running, but I really liked the bike aspect of the race. So I started bike riding a lot. I sort of focused on, I went and got myself a fancy bike, did a lot of bike racing and bike riding, and then sort of set myself the goal of doing another triathlon to see if I could, I wanted to be able to run the whole 10 kilometers and all that sort of stuff. But I think I fell in love with the training more than the sport itself to start with. I really enjoyed having that purpose to train. It motivated me in the days that I didn't want to do anything. The fact that I had a race coming up really motivated me to get me out the door a lot of the times that I didn't want to.
Just quickly coming back to the weight. I know you don't want to talk about it too much, but were you always a big guy, or did you have any athletic background in the past when you were younger? When
I was younger, my family, we were quite athletic. I would never say I excelled at any particular sport. I did a sort of a jack of all trades. I think the sport I played the most was soccer, but I started to get big when I was about 16. So there was a good 16 through to 24. I was pretty much overweight.
Okay, yeah, because I'm just trying to compare always people to myself with my journey. When I was, I did a little bit of cycling and martial art training when I was younger, but I was nothing too serious. But then it was probably over 10 years of not doing anything, drinking, smoking, etc., etc. I was never that big. I think I hit 90 at some point with no muscle. So I did hit 90 recently, but on a different body composition, so that was a different story. And I started from there, but that's starting at 120 must probably be difficult for running and training in general, right?
Absolutely. It's funny. I look back on it now, and when I was doing it, I knew everything was hard, and I used to think it was just that I was unfit, but I now understand that a lot of that was probably the fact that I was carrying so much weight, and your body's not really designed to, to do the sort of things I was trying to do with that much weight. And I think that's also why the weight fell off quite quickly, is because I was forcing it to do these things, so the body adapted.
So how long did it take you to get to the normal, let's say, like 70, 80 kilograms?
I lost 30 kilos in about 3 or 4 months. I lost it very quickly. And that's when I after that period, that's when I did really start to focus on things like diet a bit more, and my training became a little bit more specific. But I think I lost a total of about 45 kilos over maybe a 12-month period. And then I really sort of just left it. And it wasn't until a few years later, when I really did want to start getting more serious with my racing, that I really started to look at my diet the way I sort of am now, where I dropped those last. Again, I used to sit very comfortably around the mid to low 80s, and now I sit very comfortably around those low 70s.
45 kilograms is a small human, basically, eh?
Yeah, but I think there was a real moment where I went to the gym and I tried to pick up one of the 45 kilo dumbbells, and I literally couldn't lift it up. And I was like, wow. And I used to carry that around me. That was my normal. It was, it's those sort of things where, gives you a really direct comparison that can be quite shocking.
Especially in the hindsight of 2 or 3 years behind, right? Of what was
exactly.
there.
Exactly.
So when you started after the first triathlon, when you recovered and decided that yes, that the training is nice and I would like to do it, how long did it take you to do another try, and what was it, and how did it go?
It was another Olympic distance. I think it was about 18 months later, and I went from 4 hours 5 to, I think my second one was 2 hours 45. And I think that the thing I really took away from that race was that I actually managed to run the whole 10 kilometers. That was my big mission, was I don't want to have to walk at all, and I managed to run the whole way. So that was pretty good. I was very happy about that. And that was in 2000, and I think it was 2011.
So yeah, for many people, running 10K is like a benchmark of I'm getting fit, isn't it? Because it actually is difficult to be able to run for an hour straight, because that usually means that you run for an hour, if that's your first 10K run. But yeah, cutting of hour and a half in 18 months, that's a pretty good achievement. Do you think it went from the weight loss or combined weight loss and getting fitness as well?
I'd say it's probably a combination of both. I mean, I don't think no, that's not like I was definitely training. I wasn't training too much. And I had no structure. I was just riding my bike when I wanted to, run in a bit. I didn't really swim, to be honest. That's why my swim was so bad. But I think it was just the fact that because I was doing this more often, my body just got used to it and made it a lot easier.
So you didn't follow any structure, any plan from the day one. You just started to move.
Yeah, I think for the first, it was probably not until I'd done maybe 4 or 5 70.3s even, I didn't have any structure. I just trained. I sort of, today I feel like going for a run, so I might run 90 minutes, or today I'm going to go for a bike ride, I might ride 100 kilometers. There was no structure. It's just thought, I obviously need to swim, bike and run, so as long as I do a bit of swimming, biking and running every week, that should be enough.
That is interesting, because a lot of people quite often ask me about a training plan for a triathlon, specifically for a triathlon or for a given distance, when they haven't done anything before. And my answer usually is just swim, bike and run. That's it. Just don't worry about intensity. Don't worry about how fast. Don't worry about the structure of it. Just do it for a year or 5 months or whatever. And then you can start thinking about the plan, because it might be overwhelming when you suddenly put somebody on a 12 training sessions per week, because that's probably what majority of people will do on the 2 sessions per day. And it might be overwhelming if somebody thinks about it. Wow, how am I going to actually do it?
I also think it's good because one of the things I'm really grateful for is that I actually have, I can contextualize everything too. I saw a significant improvement once I did start with a coach, but it was good that I'd sort of learnt a lot about how I worked as an athlete, because I'd spent so much time just training. I knew the sort of things that I found difficult. I knew the things that I didn't like to do. And then I was able to say to my coach when we signed up, these are the things that I know I need to work on. These are the things that I think are okay, et cetera, et cetera. And I think it made that transition a lot more beneficial too, because I did have a very good understanding of how I operated. Yeah, that's
So you did few Olympic distances, right? And when did the 405 goal appear in your head? Thinking that actually you can actually do the 405, or when you start actually dreaming about it, that it would be cool to do?
It probably wasn't for a couple of years. I didn't think that there was that. I just thought when you're in something, you don't see the sort of impact it can have on other people. And I was just plugging away, doing my thing. I didn't really, obviously the people that knew me knew that I'd lost a lot of weight, but a lot of people who knew me through triathlon didn't really know that I'd lost this weight. And it wasn't until I think it was September 2013 or September 2014 where I found a photo from my first ever triathlon, and I put up this photo of me as big guy in the water, and I had a photo of that.
The one in the wetsuit, yeah,
that one, and I put it next to a photo of me the day before that race, and there was a huge difference, and a lot of people were shocked that I'd come from there, and it was around that time where I think I'd also decided I was trying to go under 4.5 hours for a half Ironman, and I just, it was this idea of setting goals, and I thought, how cool would it be if I could say that I've done double the distance in the same amount of time. And yeah, I think it was around that time when I realized that maybe there was something, that I had sort of done something that people found, some sort of interest in. But I thought, let's really start to set myself an ambitious goal, because that's something that I always say I'm not the sort, I'm competitive with certain things and sometimes with people, but I'm more competitive with myself, and I really get motivated in those sort of personal goals more so than, I always say, I don't care if I win my age group, I don't care. I would rather come last in a race but get an incredible time rather than win the race and not go fast. Like that's kind of my mindset.
Yeah, but okay. So you said that you wanted to do a 70.3 in 4.5. How did the first 70.3 go?
I think it took me 5 hours 7 minutes. I think I went into the race trying to go under 6 hours. I had no idea. I really had. I was so nervous, and I didn't really know what to expect. And I think when I crossed the finish line, I don't think I'd had the time, but a guy showed me his watch, and I think his time was 4:50 something, I think he thought we started at the same time. But when I realized I'd gone well under 6 hours, it was pretty great. And I think it was after that first race, actually, we were driving home, and I said to my wife, I think I need to buy a time trial bike because I want to get a bit more serious at this sort of stuff. So you
did it on a road bike?
Yeah, I did my first one on a road bike, and then on the driving home from that race, we stopped at we found an advertisement on the. We were living in Norway at this time, and we found on their sort of trade-in post or their online sales thing, we found a guy selling a time trial bike. So we took a slight detour to his house, and we picked up a time trial bike on the way home from the race.
Just like that.
Just like that. And thus started my obsession with bikes, unfortunately, because I've had many bikes since then.
You know what they say, if you have kids and you don't want them to take drugs, just get them into cycling because they won't have money for drugs then.
Absolutely.
Right? And I just got a new road bike like 3 weeks ago, so I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
What sort of bike did you get?
I got an endurance one. I got a Cannondale Synapse. Okay. It's a SRAM red with disc brakes, and I was looking for one because I'm not gonna race road probably ever, like road cycling. This is not that doesn't interest me, and I have a TT bike, and I wanted something that I can go for like 7, 8, 10 hours and just ride. And the endurance bike.
But you're also planning on that long ride next year as well, aren't you? So
yeah, that will help definitely.
Absolutely.
The long ride got a little bit longer actually because we are gonna probably do a detour to Wanaka at the end of it.
Are you gonna race in one? Are you gonna try to time it with the race or?
Yeah, we're gonna try to time it with the race and do a half there. I'm not gonna do another full. No. That's not gonna happen. Do a half, or maybe do a half in a team, something like that. Just something for fun. I would rather go there and I don't know, dress for something crazy and do a fun half without any ideas. Right, I'm not targeting that as a race, but since we're gonna be on a South Island, and I'm trying to get as many people involved as possible, and if I can time it around racing, the training around racing, then it will be pretty cool.
Absolutely. I love the fact that in our minds now, our idea of fun is going and doing a participate in a half an Ironman distance race or something, where I think probably both of us a few years ago, our idea of fun probably would have been going out and smashing the beers or going out all night or something like that. It's funny perspective, isn't it?
Oh, definitely is. Yeah. I spent a lot of evenings pissed completely and sitting in front of TV. On top of that, I played a lot of computer games. I was addicted to World of Warcraft at some point.
And that's all I've been doing the last week. I've just been playing computer games.
But hopefully just for a week or two, right?
I went and got that new Nintendo the other day, so I think my life, it's probably good that I'm getting to be back into training, because otherwise I would be completely absorbed in this new game. So
I do the same sometimes. I will install a few, I don't know, Hearthstone or something like that, and I will play for a week or two, and after that I was like, I think I should uninstall it, because it's creeping over everything and just swallowing more and more of my time. It's 11 and I'm still not in bed, etc. So but on that note of the fun participation race, I get so much flack for doing those 2 Ironmans at the beginning of the year, when my idea was that I didn't train enough to actually be quick and fight for time, so I will just do 2, so I have those ticked. And a lot of people were like, why would you do that? Why would you do it? Why don't you race? Why would you even start if you know that you're not going to be fast? And because I like being in a race environment. I like it being in a village when I know like half of the people and can talk to them about actually racing, right?
And how good's Taupo? Like Taupo is such a good place that it's every time I've been there for a race, the town just turns it on.
It's perfect, because after a few races you start noticing people, and you start noticing people that you know. Especially with a triathlon, when many people just don't understand what you do, right? And at least I have that a lot of people will ask at work or something like that, like, why would you go for a bike ride at 6 a.m. for 5 hours? Or things like that, right? But then you get to the environment when everybody does it and everybody understands it and everybody actually like doing that, right? So it's completely different. Plus the town itself, I think the town likes the racing, right? You have on the Ironman, you have the mayor of Taupo every single year giving speech. And they do understand that they are the hub of cycling for North Island in New Zealand. So it is pretty good.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Are you going to come to Taupo again?
Definitely. I'm not sure whether I'm going to do the 70.3 this year. I mean, I want to, but I might have a look at the Busselton 70.3 instead. But if I'm not there in December, I'll definitely be there in March. I won't be. Obviously, I don't race Ironmans, but I promised my friend Robbo that I'm definitely going to come and support his Ironman next year. So I might come and try to do the 70.3.
I'm doing the full in Busselton in December.
Oh, really? So I might see you there.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, we're gonna see each other in Sunshine Coast before.
Exactly right. And I'm coming back to doing Port Tauranga half in January next year as well. I've already signed up. I signed up for that on Friday with it's only $250 or something at the moment. So I signed up for that.
And it is a pretty cool race, isn't it?
Oh, mate, it is such a good race. I had so much fun there this year. So definitely going to be doing that one again.
That was my fastest one so far.
Me too.
Yeah, that's a fast course, right?
It's a great
race. The thing is, the thing with New Zealand is that there are not that many races with a really nice surface on the road as well. Because in the Taupo, you can see, you know that the chip is really hard, right? So it slows you down even or that, right? And on top of that, there are a few small hills and the wind. But in Tauranga, it might be a crosswind, but you just chuck in and go. The run is a little bit gnarly around the mount because you have to go off for a moment. But everybody goes there for a PB.
I just loved it. I loved it when I was racing this year, and I think there's a little section where you have to go over a bridge. And on any other race, you wouldn't even notice the bridge. You just like this, just a bridge. And I'm like, this bloody bridge. God, it's the only sort of elevation on the entire course, and I really noticed it because it's such a flat course. It's funny.
Yeah, you have like 50 meters of elevation over 90k or something like that. It's pancake flat, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. What was your time on the bike on the Tauranga this year?
2:18, but I took a wrong turn, so probably added a little bit to that. So Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
And again, yeah, I'd just come off. I'd done that Festi 500 just leading into the race as well, so I was pretty fatigued and stuff. So I was pretty happy with it.
500k on the bike in 5 days, right?
Yeah, something like that. I think I did it in. I think it's meant to be 7, and I did it in. I did it in 5 days, I think.
Yeah, you're crazy a little bit, right?
Sometimes.
Sometimes.
I think the first 3 months of this year, I averaged over 500k a week on the bike.
That is, we get back to we'll have to talk about your training schedule and how much do you actually spend training. But to come back a little bit to our timeline, so you are we were after your first half, 5:10 or something like that, right? And
5:08.
Still without coach, without a training plan, and how did it go from there? Where did you start noticing like speed improvements to go like 440-ish, 450? Those numbers that are not crazily fast, but that basically tells that you are actually doing triathlons, not just getting there from time to time, but actually in the sport.
So I went. My second race was in December the same year. So I think I did my first one July 2012, and then I raced in December in Canberra, and I went 450, 451, I think. So there's a pretty significant improvement. And I rode a 220 that day. So like I assumed that I always thought I was a pretty good bike rider. You know, even when I was a big guy, I always thought I could ride a bike pretty well. I completely overbiked because I think I ran a 150 that day. But I noticed to start with, especially my bike time was where I made the biggest improvement. From there, I did another one. I think I went 445, but it was slightly shorter than a 70.3. Same thing. I look back now and I realize I overbiked massively. Like it was the biggest mistake I used to make was I bike and just absolutely hammer it the entire time, and then off the bike and just hope for the best. So
did you train with power at that point, or just jumping on a bike and being crazy?
Yeah, I've only started training with power in the last 12 months. So it's literally just again, I look back on this now and I'm like, what an idiot. But I used to just get on the bike, and every ride I'd try to ride as hard as I could. So I'd go for 100k, and I'd try to do it. You know, can I do it in under 3 hours today, or you know what? And I'd always sort of do the same rides, and I'd always try to improve on the previous time I'd done. There wasn't a lot of. There probably wasn't a lot of. It was mostly maybe one long ride outside, and then I would do a lot of work on the stationary bikes at the gym. I used to be a spin instructor at the gym, so I did a lot of those spin classes and stuff like that. And when I wasn't instructing anymore, I still did a lot of them. When I was working, I'd go on my lunch break and do it. You know, I used to think they were quite good for developing speed in the legs and a bit of strength work. But again, without any real sort of plan, there was no specific work or anything like that. It was just, if I ride hard every time, surely I'll get better. The run, I just kept running, and the same approach to my bike. You know, I would just run and try to run as hard as I could. I was obsessed with getting my runs down to this 4-minute 30 pace, and it always seemed like it was going to be impossible, because every run I'd go, I'd absolutely bust a gut, and I'd never get there. And it's funny because now, I mean, for me, 4:30 pace is pretty slow actually, and it's so funny how I actually slowing myself down in my training and doing specific work is that I made so much more progress, so much faster. So I think it took me when did I go? I went 440 at that weird race. Then I slowed down because I broke my ribs. So then I did a race in Cairns. I had broken ribs. I went 5:12, I think. Then I did a race in Sunshine Coast, and I wanted to go 4:45. I went 4:45. Then I raced my first time. I went to Phuket, and I did a race over there, and I think I went 5:23. But I had some mechanical issues on the bike, and it's hot like an oven. And it wasn't until the next.
It is a hot day. It is a hot race, yes.
Oh, such a hot race.
God.
And then it was in January the next year that I did that first Melbourne race, and I went 4:44, and I rode a 2:19, and I just gotten myself a new time trial bike. Same thing as usual. I overbiked, struggled on the run, but I said to myself, "That's it. I want to go under 4.5 hours." And I got in touch with my coach, because he obviously just started coaching. I said, "Mate, I want to go under 4.5 hours, and I want you to help me do it." And that's when that was probably that was the start of 2014 where I signed up with my coach.
Are you still with him? Is it Ben Hammond,
Yep.
right?
Yep, I'm still with Benny. Me and Ben Hammond, three and a bit years. He's so Ben used to be a pro athlete. He's given up his pro license now. He's a sports scientist with a training platform called Today's Plan. But he's making a comeback to racing this year. He's racing the full Ironman in Cairns. And I've signed up for the 70.3 so I can go up there and heckle him when he's on the run course.
That's good.
Yeah.
So okay, so how did your training change when you started working with him? Did he basically slow you down, put you on a 2080 more or less, and just monitor the progress, or how did it work?
It started. The main thing was we identified was my swim was horrific. I was swimming, I think that last Melbourne race where I went 4:42 or 4:44. I swam something like 45 minutes for the 1.9K, and that's not very good. So he really got me in the pool a lot, and I'd never ever swum any sort of structured. I used to just get in the water and swim for 2 kilometers. Just swim 40 laps. That was all I would do. So I really noticed the difference in the water because all of a sudden it was sets of 100s or pre-fatigue in the arms, and then doing lactic tolerance work in the water. Speed sessions, race pace specific sessions, structuring your swim so replicate that, start very quickly, then get into a consistent pace in the middle, and then accelerate again at the end to replicate race conditions. So I really dedicated. I hate swimming. I really dislike it. I like it when I race and stuff, but I really don't enjoy swim training that much. But I really committed to the swim training. In the others, the run, again, same thing. I used to just go for a run. Ben introduced a lot of intervals and accordion runs and negative splits and all those sort of things. And again, these are things that I'd never even thought of doing. And the bike, it was actually probably backing right off. I didn't bike as much. I did, again, more slow, steady stuff with some race specific work the closer we get to races. I went and got myself a pretty fancy bike trainer last year, so we do a lot of work now. Very specific on the bike. So, and again, now that I train with power, that makes it a lot easier because we're able to set up the intervals and to specific powers. So it might be 20 minutes at this wattage, then 20 minutes at a higher wattage, or exactly, those sort of things to build up a higher FTP and those sort of things. And again, having Ben, who is a sports scientist, and he does work for this incredible training platform, Today's Plan. It's used by Team Sky. The data that we're able to get and stuff and use for my training I don't understand half of it, to be honest, but it's good to know that. It's funny. I feel like I've struggled in a session. I might have still hit the numbers that I need to, but I really had to dig deep. It's amazing that the software shows that, because I'll get an email from Ben saying, what happened? You were struggling. This wasn't right. And it's like, yeah, mate, a bit fatigued or whatever. And yeah, it's completely changed not just the way I train, but the way I approach my training. I think I understand the purpose of each session now, as opposed to just going out and getting it done. I know that each session, even if it is a 45-minute easy run where I'm not meant to look at my watch or not even wear a watch, I understand now why I'm doing that sort of thing. And I think that's a big difference for me. So,
and in terms of volume, how did that progress? Because right now you are, apart from the last 2 weeks, you're on a crazy volume for an age grouper, I would say, right?
Yeah. It was, the first couple of years we were probably around that, 10 to 18, 15, 20 hour, depending on, with my degree. And I was working part-time. I don't have a part-time job, but I still do some work now. I'd say about 15, 16, 17 hours a week of training. In the last few months, maybe the last 6 months, it's actually that's not true. In the lead up last year to my A race, the volume again started out very high. Lots of easy, long, slow miles that would then, as the intensity would increase, the duration would shorten. But at the start of this year, we really wanted to build a really solid bike base. So there was lots and lots and lots and lots of bike riding. And then as the race became closer, the bike miles dropped right off, but the run miles increased. I do train a lot.
So you're probably around 30 hours, right? in those
No,
in those craziest weeks?
the biggest week I did this year so far was I think 33 hours, and that's when I was in Thailand. I'd say 25 to 25, 26, 24. That'd be par for the course, I'd say.
And swim, bike, run, how does it compose? How much swimming, how much cycling, running?
We identified that my swim's not very good at the moment, so we're going to I'm about to go into a big swim block. So we didn't really, I was maybe only swimming 3 times a week. So maybe what's that? Maybe an hour and a half to 2 hours of swimming a week. The bike, as I said, was up around 500 or 600 kilometers a week. So that was, a lot. I don't even know, 15 hours plus. And then the run, especially those last few weeks, I was running 50, 60K. I was doing 2 or 3 20 plus K runs a week, but not just going out running 20K. It might have been a 1 hour warm up and then an accordion set of 3 minutes above race pace, 3 minutes slightly below race pace, repeated 10 times, or it might be 20-minute warm up, 20 times 3 minutes at race pace with a 1 minute float recovery in between. The run volume was again pretty high, maybe 7-8 hours, something like that. Yeah.
So this is when you start working with Ben. You've noticed that. What I want to ask, when did you start thinking about yourself not as a person who lost a lot of weight and is into fitness right now, but actually is a triathlete who will go fast and will start winning or being on a podium of his age groups?
It's funny because when I did the first time I made a podium in a race, I kind of knew I had to. And that was because I was trying to qualify for the World Championships. And I picked the race because I thought the field wouldn't be as strong, so I'd get the slot. So the first one I didn't really think that much about. But the next time I made the podium, I actually won my age group, and I was completely shocked by it because I'd never thought of myself as a sort of contender. And it went winning one, and then I won. The next week I won another one, and then the next week I came third at another one. And
was that around the 2015? Phuket to Taupo, right?
Yeah, so I came third in my age group in Bintan. I went to Phuket. I won my age group at Laguna Phuket Tri. Then I won my age group at Challenge Phuket, and then I came third in my age group at Taupo 70.3. And it was around that point where I went, like, this isn't meant to happen, mate. Like, I'm not that guy. I'm the one who's racing my own race, not necessarily racing against other people. But it was about that time where I thought, yeah, look, I am starting to get up to that pointier end of the field. But I also thought because I was in the 25 to 29 age group at that point, I thought maybe it's not as strong an age group. But then I moved into the 30 to 34 last year, and I still was making the podium. I won my age group at a race. I came third a couple of times, and it's certainly now I go to races and I'd never say I expect to get on the podium, but I'm not as surprised anymore when it happens. Is maybe the way to say. And I don't want to sound arrogant about that, but I know how hard I train, and I know that to achieve the goals that I want to achieve means that those times are going to be right up there now. So that's why I think it's becoming a bit more normal for me.
I enjoy your race recaps usually. By the way, I've been on the Phuket. That's when you won those two races. These were the tough conditions and to race in.
Yeah,
that
absolutely,
heat, man. I remember it even still. I haven't been in Thailand ever since, and I will go eventually. But yeah, that I remember that heat even now. Those sponges that you would put on you, and three steps after that, they were basically dry and warm. Yeah.
Yep. Mate, it was and it was funny because again I did the double in 2015, so I went back last year and same thing. I never expect to win and stuff, and I won my age group at the first one. I thought, oh, this could be like last year, and I actually did. I had a suspicion that I'd go very well in the 70.3, but unfortunately, as you know, some things I got 2 punctures on the bike, which gave me a significant delay on the side of the road. I think I was standing on the side of the road for over 20 minutes until another athlete kindly donated their spare kit to me. And then I went back to my old frame of mind, and I overbiked trying to catch back up because I think I was in second position in the age group when the puncture happened, or I might have just been off. I can't remember. And so had a shop and race that day, and yeah, that's what triathlon is though. Anything can happen. So
I think, by the way, you are the person who gets the most punctures of the people I know.
tell me about it.
Like, what was the story recently about how many you got? 3?
Oh no, in Melbourne, it wasn't. It was so I got a puncture, and again that day was just a bad day. It was freezing cold. It was very windy. I'd had a bad swim. I knew I wasn't going to have my day, but I just sort of was going to. I just wanted to enjoy it, and I got a puncture 7 kilometers from the end of the bike, so at 83k, and I was laughing because it was like, just it's typical. What else can go wrong today, sort of thing. And it was so cold you could barely use your fingers, but I managed to I changed it, and I learnt because of Phuket about I made sure there was nothing in the inner nothing inside the tire that could repuncture it. Checked the rim, there was nothing there. Made sure there was no pinches. Put the tire, put the inner tube, put the tire back on. Got my CO2 canister. When I inflated it, it made this. The air came out the side of the tire almost. I thought, fucking hell! Don't tell me I've done it again. Like, I've done something wrong. I don't have another spare. I'll keep. That's so basically I made the decision. I was 7 kilometers from transition. I'm gonna walk with my bike. I'm gonna run my bike because I want to finish this race. Mm-hmm. And probably after about 5 kilometers of walking and running, a friend of mine who was racing, he gave me his spare set. Same thing. I did it again. I took off the inner tube, changed it over, put the valve extender on, everything again. And then when I inflated it the second time, the exact same thing happened. And I thought, okay, I know what's going on here. I had an issue before the race with the valve extender on my front tire that I got fixed. But this was the same valve extender that I had a problem with was on my rear. And the valve extender wasn't sealing with the valve on the inner tube, so the air was not going into the inner tube, which is what was the problem. So the inner tubes were fine. It was this valve extender that basically made it impossible for me to inflate my tire. So I ran the last 7 kilometers of the bike leg for the brilliant bike split of 3 hours 56 minutes. I managed to knock up my slowest 70.3 result with, I think I went 5:56. But I did run a 1 hour 23 half marathon. That was pretty good.
How are your feet after running 7K bare feet?
Not good, mate. I had this. It's funny because a lot of people have said to me, "Oh, you ran your PB because you didn't bike you had a chance to cool down." And I said, "Do you have any idea how hard it is to run 7 kilometers barefoot?" Like it was. My legs were sore. Like it was cold. The bottoms of my feet were covered in blisters. I had trouble walking for a few days after the race. Like the bottoms of my feet were so tender. It was not very pleasant.
I remember we went for a bike ride just like 2 weeks ago, and one of the guys got a puncture, and so he opened his toolbox, and there is the CO2 canister that is used.
Oh, no.
So there was 4 of us. So another guy opened gives him the canister. He put the canister into the valve, press it, and all of the air expands everywhere, basically, just not in the inner tube. So we had I opened mine canister, and it's used as well. And but our friend had the pump, like a manual pump. So he started to pump his inner tube, and it's not pumping at all. And it turns out that his spare is punctured.
Oh,
so I took out my spare, which was punctured as well. And we found the third spare, and with the last CO2 canister, we pumped it. And then while taking it out, the valve came out. So it was like 3 monkeys trying to replace one inner tube. And I was thinking about you actually then, because it took us an hour. It took us an hour. I had a video out of it, and I have to put it somewhere because it. Yeah, and then we cut it short. Thankfully, we were close to home because we wanted to do like 120k, but after 70 and having no spares, no CO2, nothing, we just let's just go home at this point.
Absolutely.
But I was thinking about your race at that point. I was like, he did something like that.
I'll tell you what, though, I'm very fast at changing a spare now.
I must say that I haven't changed a spare in a while, and I'm scared actually because I never got a puncture in a race, and I'm just waiting for a first one because it is going to happen eventually, right?
Well, that's what happened to me.
How's it gonna be? Yeah.
I didn't have a puncture for like my first 20 races or something, and I thought, oh man, I know it's going to happen. And
You're catching up.
Now, mate, I'm getting my average out because it's one thing. It's one after another. People assumed it was the same wheel. I said it's not even the same wheels. The first double was on my my disc wheel. This one was on my 808. It's like it's not a mechanic. Like there's nothing wrong with my gear. It's just bad luck. So.
But also you had once you had the tire tube roll off the wheel, wasn't it?
Yeah,
when that was big crash.
That was the race that I qualified for the World Champs in Indonesia. I had the tubs on, and it was so hot that the glue melted, holding the tire to the rim. And as I took a corner, the tire rolled off the rim, and my back wheel went from spinning at 40 kilometers an hour to not moving. Came off pretty hard that race. That wasn't a very pleasant experience. I don't ride tubs anymore. Let's put it that way.
Learned a lesson, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
I always wonder how to replace that on the race, and I have regular tubes on mine, and I'm happy with it.
Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. Less hassle.
Thankfully, like I say, I won't get the puncture anytime soon. But on a new bike, I have tubeless tires, which are the new fancy thing. Apparently, I have no freaking clue how to seal it if it breaks. So I will learn hard way at some point, or I will just have to learn because there's no tube inside, right?
Exactly. What's the valve like on those things? I've always wondered.
So the valve is basically like a loose piece that you put in apparently in a wheel, and then it all seals. It seals itself from inside with the pressure of the air, right? So. What you can do, you can run a little bit of sealant inside, so the sealant stays there. So when you get a puncture, it will just reseal itself.
Yep.
And I have those inner tubes for my training wheels, and that's perfect. I put them on 2 years ago, and I haven't had a puncture there. They're running with gator skin, and it's basically a bulletproof thing.
Yeah, those gator skins are rock solid.
Yeah. One of the guys tried to do a race on gator skin, and I think he lost like 15 minutes or something like that. Yeah, because that must be the slowest tire in the.
Might as well put a parachute on your back.
A little bit, yeah. Oh man, how many people I saw in Wanaka basically with parachutes? Just those vests or jackets that are just a little bit too big for you.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
then you become twice as big as you should be. Like.
I know.
Stop and rip it off people sometimes. Yeah, tell them what you doing.
I always find it quite funny too when you go to races and you see these guys who are maybe a bit larger than they should be, but they're riding this super aerodynamic, $15,000 time trial bike, and it's mate. I think you need to work on your body before you worry about the aerodynamics of your bike, because you're not going to be going too quick on that thing.
That's true. Yeah, I saw a few people on full aero kit with aero helmet doing 630 half, and that's not because of slow run and fast bike. So yeah, but to that note, I bought my first time trial bike before my first triathlon. I must say, I bought a used Trek for £1,000, I think it was, when I was living in London. I just with the bikes with me is that I try to seize the opportunity, and it's like, oh, this one is actually cheap. Let's buy it. Do I need one? Doesn't matter. Let's buy it. Right. The same happened with my road bike, the Scott that I have. I just logged into the Trade Me, which is the New Zealand version of eBay, and there is a bike. There is an auction, and the price right now is pretty low. Let's watch how it's going to end, and it's ended up being below $1,000, which is very cheap. Like very cheap for a carbon frame. Basically, for a carbon frame is cheap, not even for a bike. So I got it, and this time as well, I opened some website and it's like, oh, they have a sale. Shit. But so I have a new bike. Yeah, it will take a while till I get the next one. I'm pretty sure. Now I have to. I'm telling myself that I have to get faster before investing any more into a gear, because there is no point. I got to the point on the bike when I start feeling that I'm actually doing well, and On the bike, everything else is shit, but the bike is the bike is good. I'm getting there. Yeah, the last year, I just there was just too many things on my head. So the only thing I could do is jump on a wind trainer.
Yep.
And doing a lot of work on wind trainer will make you fast on the bike. That's
mate, 100%. It's the most valuable piece of training equipment that I own is my bike trainer.
Because you have a Neo, TACX Neo,
yes.
Right?
I have the
Enjoying it?
I have a love-hate relationship with it because I love the benefit, but I hate how hard it is.
Mm-hmm.
Because you can't cheat on that bike because it controls the wattage for you. So if I set in, if I want to do 280 watts for 20 minutes, no matter how tired and how slow my cadence gets, it makes you ride at 280 watts. So it can be quite horrific. It
is, especially when you get like below 60 cadence, because then you have to start pushing like really hard. And I have the same. I have the Wahoo kicker, and I do mostly with the trainer road. And some of the sets on the trainer road are set up by maniacs because you cannot even explain it in a different way. Like you just start the first interval, and I'm thinking, how the hell am I going to do the fifth one if I'm struggling on the first one? But it's usually like this. The first one is bad. The second, third, and fourth are actually okay because you warm up, your body just gets used to it, and the fifth is the one that you want to kill yourself.
Absolutely.
On the last one. Mm-hmm.
What did my coach gave me one last year, and it was, I think the last interval was 15 seconds at like 600 watts. And I physically could not turn the pedals. The resistance was so high.
Yeah, that's what happens. You just stop, right?
Yeah, it's just like erg mode temporarily off. Like, no, just it's very frustrating.
My benchmark for a turbo trainer and for bike is, you know, the bank session for the Maca X sessions, those old ones. Yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. So I do that one. I made myself one in a trainer road, so it's fully automatic, and I do that one like once every 3 months or something like that. And when I cannot finish the last set, then I think, okay, my numbers are okay. But when I can't finish the last set, then I'm thinking I probably should up the FTP because I shouldn't be able to, because that session is crazy as well.
It's funny. I haven't done an FTP set for a while, but I similarly have a session that I call it my go-to session. It's a set of what do? I do a 30-minute warm up, then I do 31 minutes, and I think I've got the watts at 320 at the moment, and then I do a 30-minute cool down. So it's a 2-hour session. Sometimes I extend the warm up and cool down to an hour if I want to hit 3 hours on the bike, but it's always those 31 minutes, and yeah, same thing. I know I'm going pretty well when I can sort of do the session quite comfortably, and it's the sessions where I'm struggling to get to 10 that I go, okay, I'm either very fatigued or like something's not quite right. But I haven't done an FTP test in, probably 12 months. I'd actually be very curious to do another one. I say that now, probably going to have one in the next couple of weeks, which is going to be pretty horrific, I think. So.
Well, after the break, you'll probably be around 300, right? Just below. Yeah,
I think so. Maybe. The last time I did an FTP, which was probably 12 months ago, my FTP was 290, 291, 290, something like that. And I'm pretty sure that the amount of bike work I did the last 12 months. My watts in a 70.3 now are around for the 90K around 270. So I'm pretty sure that I've got an FTP over 300.
So I can do 245 on a half, 250 on a half. And my FTP is 300. So you will be like 330 probably, something like that.
Yeah, something like that. I think it was Taupo. Taupo is the last one I rode, honestly, for the 90. And that was 267, I think I averaged watts there. So, yeah, again, my power knowledge is growing because I've only been using it for 12 months, but it's probably another one of those very smart decisions I made was to start training with power. I think it's a very useful tool. It
makes it easier. Well, not easier physically, but easier in terms of bang for buck, because you actually know what you need to do. Because I do help a few people with their training here and there, and when they go on a bike and they ask me to plan the intervals, and I'm just like, I don't know. Honestly, right? Because especially when somebody doesn't have any data, because if you have the data with even the heart rate or the speed or whatever, then you can interpolate something, right? But if you don't have anything, it's, I cycle a bit here and there, and there's like, okay, so yeah.
I coach a number of I coach about, I think I've got 6 athletes at the moment that I coach, and one of the athletes I've been coaching for well over a year now, she's never had a Garmin or any sort of device. And every year it's her birthday or Christmas, I'm begging her. I'm like, just please ask your family for a sports watch or some form of tracking device, because I need to see what you're doing. I set you these sessions and you say, yeah, I did it, but I need to know, man. You're killing me here. I need more data. It's it's funny.
On that note, I remember when I started working for a while with John Newsom. That was after my first Ironman and before the end of 2016, was it? Yeah. No, beginning of 2016. Up to top of 2016. And when we started working together, I sent him the access to my training peaks, and he was like, wow, for once I have everything I need and I want. Because you have all of the sessions. I have this. I'm a data freak, right? I'm a programmer, so I love data, and everything is there. Everything is if I can wear something, I will do it. I almost never do a session without some tracking device, right? It happens probably once every 5 months when the watch dies. And I remember that a few years ago, I would be like, shit, I cannot do my training because I don't have my watch on me. I had that phase, but right now it's like, yeah, okay, whatever, let's go for a run. So I'm better at this, but if there's something to take from it, just record your data as much as you can to anybody who's listening, because you might need it in the future, and you probably will need it in the future.
Absolutely. And as I said, speaking as a coach, it does make your life so much easier when you have an athlete that you start training and they're able to give you their data from the last, however long they've been training, because you do get so much information just being able to see what their speeds are like, what their heart rate does when they go a certain speed, etc. It makes your life so much easier.
It does. On the other hand, I'm trying to help my partner with cycling. And I'm saying that I'm trying to help her because she works a lot and she doesn't believe in tracking anything. So it's really difficult to actually remember, did she do enough or did she not do enough? And I live with her, so imagine how difficult it is when you have an athlete that you talk to once a week or something like that, right?
Well, what you need to do, mate, I know you're not the biggest Zwift fan, but you should get her on Zwift, and that way, because it logs all the data for her. She doesn't even have to know that it's happening. She can just ride with the other people or whatever. And then...
Well, I put her on a trainer road, not a Zwift, but here and there, and she does enjoy it. But it's just a time constraint. But on top of that, she does also Pilates that I never know when, because she will be like, "Oh yeah, I have it today," and I'm just like, "Oh, okay, thanks for letting me know." That right? Yeah, we're working on it.
Yeah, you'll get there.
We'll get there eventually. And on this, do you train with your wife a lot?
No.
Out of the blue question. No,
not really. I mean, Des doesn't really like triathlon that much, but she does run. But it does lead to a few arguments when we run together, because, and it's not just with my wife, but I find with other, some of my friends or my family. I think people have this perception that if I run with them, that they're slowing me down. Whereas, as I say to people, like the majority of my runs are not fast. Like if I just, as you said, that 80-20 split, the majority of my runs are very easy. And I'm talking 5:30 to 6 minute kilometers. If I just go out and plod along, like I'm not going quick. So it is funny. So sometimes I'll say to my wife, you've got an hour run, let's do it together. And about 10 minutes in, it's that, just go ahead. I'm slowing you down. Just go. It's like, man, like, it's okay. I'm not, I can run with you. No, I was just going. It's like, okay, bye. I'll see you later. Yeah. So
Julie
really
does the same. She does the same, because I would do a crazy training over the weekend, and on Monday we are cycling to work, which is 20K ish, and she will be apologizing for us to going slow, and then I'm cycling with her thinking, shit, I'm so tired, my legs are so heavy, I'm so happy that I'm going so slow, right? And she will be apologizing. I was like, no, that's fine. If I wanted to go faster, I would have fucked off miles before, right?
That's what I always say to people. Like, I'm choosing to ride with you. Like, I know I can go do my own, but I'm choosing. So therefore, I'm not gonna take off on you. Or the other thing I say to people now is, even if it's not true, I often find if I say at the start of a ride, "Oh man, my legs are fucked today. I can't ride too far." Then it disarms people a little bit, so they're not as worried about it. So that's a little sneaky trick that I do.
That's a good one. I have to incorporate it in mine, because I quite often do cycle with slower people on my days when I wanted to go slow, right? Because I do majority of my intensity is on a trainer, right? And on a trainer, that's when the easiest way to do it. I almost puke. Well, actually puke sometimes on it, and I'm happy there. But on the road, I'm just enjoying the scenery quite often.
Well, I find it quite hard to do specific work on the road as well, because
it is difficult. Yeah,
traffic lights, cars, changes in terrain, etc. So what I do is, I do my long rides, often with other people, and again, sometimes they want to go hard, sometimes they go easy, whatever. I don't mind. But if I have, like I said, really specific intervals or wattage targets, whatever, I try to do those sessions on the trainer, because I know I'm going to hit those targets exactly. So
the only specific session that I do outside on the bike would be the either race simulation. So you do 90K and you try to find it without the lights, or the before Ironman I would do like 4 hours. 4 times 1 hour at Ironman pace with a half an hour break in between. So then that's a long enough interval, and even if you get a light, it won't affect you that much.
Yeah.
But anything shorter than an hour-ish interval, which usually it's a whole ride, there's no point actually. Yeah.
I'm lucky. Where I live, there's a cycling path. It follows one of the major motorways in Sydney, and I think it's 40 kilometers end to end. So if I do have those longer intervals, sometimes I'll go out and do it. I did one a few months ago now. It was 4 times 30 minutes at maximum, like the highest watts I could hold for the 430s. And I think I was trying to hit around 290 for the 30 minutes every time. And the problem with the bike path is it's quite technical. There's a lot of hard turns and changes and stuff. And I did it. I got the session done, but like it destroyed me. And I remember coming into the 430. You look at your average watts, and I think I hit around 287, pretty much average. But that 287 cost you so much more, because you have all these slowdowns and speed up, so you're burning all these matches and stuff. And whereas if I had have actually just gone out on a perfectly flat, smooth surface for the whole time, the session would have been a lot easier. But because of those changes and stuff, my wife found me, because we met up afterwards to have breakfast together, and I was literally laying next to my bike in the fetal position because I was just absolutely destroyed.
But yeah, we have a cycle path here as well, and it's the same. So a lot of turns, a lot of people on the cycle path. So you kind of just tag in and go. Unfortunately, there are a few roads that you can do it like that, but for that I have to cycle for an hour or two to just get out of the city, which is another issue of living in Auckland. But that's a different story.
Fair enough.
Yeah. So how does your usual training week look like? If you are preparing if you are in a race prep, not on a base, but closer to a race, how do you manage basically to do so many hours? I know you don't work, but you still have university. You still do some work, right? So it's not only training. You're not a professional in that sense, right?
No, not at all. So what I learned early on with my degree, because law is very demanding. And again, having the part-time work as well does present its challenges. I really, when I allocate time for a certain task, that's what it's for. So if I'm doing a swim, I'm doing it at this time. I'm not doing anything else. Or if I'm doing a bike ride, that's this. If I'm doing my study, that's at this time. I always say I have this approach with my training now that it's not a question of if I'm going to do it. It's just that's what's done. So if that's what's on my program, that's what I do. I really think. I think if you looked at my last 12 months of training, my average completion would be well over 95%. Like I very rarely miss sessions. The breakdown is, as I said, is probably on a normal week 3 or 4 swims. The longest being about 5 kilometers, the shortest being maybe 3. And there's normally one speed session that's maybe a set of 50s. Then there's some race-specific stuff, which is 200s that are at varying paces with some lactic tolerance work. There's a strength session sometimes, which is normally sets of 200s or 400s with paddles and pull buoy. And then the other one could be anything from a recovery swim sometimes, which might be an easy 3 times 1K. There might be a time trial session in there somewhere. There's all sorts of, there's one session that I get, which is a set of 75s, which is all, it might be 15 meters fast, 60 meters easy, 25 meters fast, 50 meters easy, 50 meters hard, 25 meters easy, 75 meters all hard. That might get thrown there as well. For the bike, 3 or 4 bike rides a week. Normally they're allocated on time, but I do try to, if I am going out on the bike, if it's not a specific session, I do try to hit out 100 Ks at least. Mm-hmm. The long ride on a Saturday normally, then there's normally 1 or 2 specific sessions, which are those that I do try to do on the trainer. Again, more of my rides will move indoors during winter because I'm a massive sook when it comes to cold. So I can spend up to 4 hours or 5 hours on the trainer.
What's wrong with you?
Yeah, I know. I'm a sucker for punishment. But again, I do think if it's say a 2-hour ride and I have the option of doing outdoors or indoors, I will normally go indoors just because I know I'm going to get better bang for my buck on the trainer than I will out on the road. Mm-hmm. And then the run sessions are maybe similar. Sometimes it's an easy 45-minute run for recovery, or it might be 3 minutes off the bike at race pace, or there'll be a longer run session as an accordion run, or as I've sort of mentioned before, those 20 times 3 minutes or 15 times 4. Sometimes they'll be longer. One of the runs I get is an increasing pace session, so it might be a 1 hour run, and every 15 minutes my pace increases. So I might start out at about 5:30 pace, but try to finish at sub 4 pace. Those sort of there. So that's sort of my breakdown, I guess I'd say. Maybe 3 or 4 runs, 4 or 5 bikes, and 3 or 4 swims. And
any gym work?
No, I should. I know I should, but that is probably one thing that I do struggle to fit in is, something has to give. And as I said, I think the things that I should be doing a bit more of are probably stretching and, a bit of gym work. I mean, at the start of last year, I did a bit of work in the gym, but when you're actually training, I just find that it just fatigues me so much, and it really impacts on my ability to train the next couple of days. So I don't. It does, yeah. Mm-hmm. And again, I've asked my coach whether he thinks I should, and he's not too fast. So, and as I say to people as well, if you do the right sort of work while you're training, like strength work on the bike, hill repeats on the bike or the run, those longer intervals in the pool with all the gear on, that it's race sport specific, and it's still strength work. So. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's an average week, I guess.
Yeah, so that's a lot of training.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, I need to up my game, definitely.
But again, Robbo, he doesn't train as much as me. He does a lot more specific stuff because he is quite time poor. So I think a big week for Robbo is maybe 19 hours of training a week, but he just makes sure that every single session he does is very specific. So there's not a lot of, he might not just go out for a 3-hour ride. He might do in place of that, a 90-minute or 2-hour ride, but it's probably on a trainer, and again, very specific and stuff like that. So I think there's merits to both. Sometimes that 33-hour week I probably didn't need to do that much. It was more, I was in Thailand at a training hotel, so I might as well make the most of it while I'm here. It just depends on the person and what, as you said, sort of what phase of your training you're in.
Is it still a training hotel, Tanyapura, or did they qualify into medical completely?
They're still a sports hotel, still Asia's leading sports hotel. Mm-hmm. They've still got their triathlon program, 365 days a year triathlon training. I was there in February. They've got it's just as good. They've got some great athletes training there at the moment. I know Michael Raylert's there at the moment. I had the pleasure of training with him and Richie Nichols, who both very handy athletes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I heard a lot of information, usually coming from the mechanics group, that they try to focus more of less of a sport and more medical things or whatever.
I think that, they probably see a lot of potential in that area, but the way the facilities that place has, it's never not going to do sport, because it would be a complete waste, basically. No, they're still doing their... I'm actually planning on going there probably in August this year again.
So it's still safe to plan holiday in Thailand, in Tanipura.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's something I didn't know.
Yeah, no, okay. Definitely. It's still there.
Good. Okay, I need a second job then, I think. But that won't work well with training then. That's a problem.
Exactly. Yeah.
We're talking for a while, but if you have time, do you wanna just quickly tell a few words about your diet and how it is right now and how it changed over the years of training? Or is it not specific, or you're just trying eating healthy, and that's basically it?
Well, at the moment, I'm not doing too much because I'm on my break, so I've probably been a little bit naughty. So as I said, I sort of lost that last 10 kilos, or I got my weight right down in the last 18 months, maybe 2 years. And that the secret, I think, to that is I've really started to watch my portion sizes. We now, like, I think one of the best, I've sort of mentioned what I think are the really good training tools, but one of the really good tools for cooking is if you get a food scale. And when you cook, me and my wife, we make sure we only cook enough for 2 servings. So there's only enough for one serving each. So that way there's nothing left after you finish. And if you're hungry, there's nothing left to eat, basically. That's one thing that we sort of worked out how many calories we need. I've started working with a nutritionist in the last 6 months. So we're quite specific on how much we need to prepare and just make sure that we don't overeat. As far as sort of specifics, I don't follow a particular plan or anything like that. I sort of eat a bit of everything, but as I like to say, you just don't eat shit. We all know the things that are bad for us. We know the things that we shouldn't eat, and just be smart about what you're eating too. Don't buy into all that marketing, advertising hype, because a lot of it's complete bullshit. The things that are marketed to us as healthy are often the exact opposite. So just, I always say, if there's things on the market, if there's things in the ingredients that you can't pronounce, be a little bit careful. And I try to, go, if I can make something myself, I'd rather make it than buy something pre-made, because I then know what goes into it. I suppose things like, if we're going to use carbohydrates, maybe go for more complex carbohydrates rather than the more refined ones. So whole grain breads, brown rice a lot of the time. I don't eat wholemeal pasta because I hate it. I know I should eat it more, but I love pasta. A lot more vegetables on my plate, and often we might just do a meat with a salad, so the vegetables aren't cooked. Or again, a lot of vegetarian food too. I could very happily go vegetarian. Beans and all those sort of things I absolutely love. And I think it's just, as well as for me, like, one of the real benefits of working with my nutritionist is knowing how to eat around training as well. So a lot of my sessions now will be either a specifically fasted session where I won't eat so much, or I might have a low carb session in the morning and then have a high carb session in the afternoon. Or, when I finish my rides or whatever, now there's often I have to eat eggs or chicken or some protein straight after. They're the sort of, I guess, specific things that I try to do. It's not, it's surprising how, I always think with food, there's so much information out there. It can be quite overwhelming, but again, I don't do anything that I don't think the normal average Joe on the street couldn't do, because it's literally just, should I be eating this? Probably not. Then don't. Actually
shouldn't do, right? Not even couldn't, because that's one of my passions is the food that people eat, and the landscape is atrocious, is really bad, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Basically everywhere, doesn't matter what country you're living in, it's really bad. I even go a little further than if you cannot pronounce the ingredient. I usually tell people that if you look at a food that needs an ingredient list, that's maybe something that you should avoid or try to figure out if you should have it or not. Because in the end, it's the beginning and the end of the supermarket. So fruits, veggies, and a little bit of frozen stuff, and that's all you need.
Yeah.
But that's not what people buy. That's one of my hobbies. Whenever I do shopping, I look what other people buy, and I'm shocked. I'm usually shocked. I completely. I know exactly what you talk. Sometimes and it's the thing that I don't like to judge people, but sometimes you see but you cannot not judge at this stage. Sometimes, sadly, I know it's bad, but yeah.
It's when I see people with kids and I see the things that they put in their trolleys for their children, and I think that's like you shouldn't be giving your children that stuff. That's so bad.
I'll like quite often, maybe not joke, but not joke, and I'm saying, fuck, that is child abuse. That really is borderline child abuse. Yes. But that comes from the education, I think, and from laziness, and from the fact that people will buy into what they say in advertisement. And 100%. You do not see advertisement for fruits and veggies.
Well, you just have to look. The example, I think, and probably a lot of people in New Zealand will know, is this Nutri-Grain, this Ironman food. That stuff, I mean, I love Nutri-Grain, but I just can't eat it. There's so much sugar in it.
But the thing is, a lot of that food, I can justify it as an athlete to eat it as around the session, something like that. You know, when you need a lift, when you need some carbs quickly because you're dying from lack of fuel. But yeah, for everyday person, they just shouldn't. That's true. I think there was one race one day that was sponsored by McDonald's. There was a triathlon somewhere that was McDonald's triathlon or Wendy's or whatever. Some fast food, definitely, and people were going mental around about that.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But I got a lot of negative comments when I posted a video once drinking Coke after run. I did like 15K run or some intervals, I don't know, but I was so naked. I barely got home, and I was drinking Coke. Caffeine with sugar. That's perfect fuel, right? And
it's the perfect sports drink.
And a lot of people were like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I have like 2 Cokes per month. Fuck off." Right? Yeah. Alrighty. Tell me, what's your plans beyond the 405 in half Ironman? Because that's gonna happen pretty soon. So what's happening? What will happen next?
I have no idea, mate. It's funny because this year I'm getting a bit anxious because my degree's ending, which means there's a change coming, all this sort of stuff, and it is almost something similar that's happening with me with my race, and is because again I don't like to sound arrogant or anything, but I do think it's going to happen, as you say, quite soon, and it is making me sort of wonder what's next. Probably if I do it, I'll probably consider going longer, doing an Ironman.
Well, about freaking time, eh?
Everyone says this. I think I would. Yeah, then maybe look at going longer. I mean, my coach has already told me I could do an Ironman tomorrow if I wanted to. It's more that I can't just do something. If I'm going to do it, I want to do it well. So it would mean I'd probably want to go and do a very fast Ironman to start with, and I'd probably end up having a disaster and all this sort of stuff. So, I think that's probably the next natural step. Yeah, and other than that, it would be. I just don't know. I can't, it's like I've just got this light at the end of the tunnel, which is that 405 for me, and I can't really see beyond it at the moment. So, that's probably the only thing I can really think of. Maybe an Ironman. Well,
I'm pretty sure you will do an Ironman eventually. It's just the matter of the time, right?
Yeah, probably. Everybody goes on about it enough. I'll probably do it just to shut everyone up. And I won't tell anyone I'm doing it. I'll keep it quiet. I won't even tell anybody I'm doing it. I'll just cross that finish line and I'll be like, there you go, guys. I've done it. Happy. There we go. Move on.
Yeah, you probably will have to wait until you do this 405 because the training would be much different, for you.
Yeah, exactly right. And that's the thing. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it properly. So
to do it in the time that you want to do.
Exactly.
Yeah, but do you see your future with the sport, or are you gonna become a corporate lawyer hidden in an office building somewhere 20 hours per day?
It's funny when I enrolled in my law degree, that was definitely the goal, was trying to get in a nice high paying job, all that sort of stuff. But the more I've learnt about the legal industry and the more I've sort of gone into my sport is I don't think that's an avenue that I necessarily want to go down. I definitely want to do something with my legal degree. I'm going to get my practice and certificate. And as I sort of say to people, while I'm able to do this sports stuff, I want to do as much of it as I can. And when I'm 40, I might not be able to do triathlon anymore, and that's when I can really start to focus on my career. I really enjoy coaching. I think it's something that I fell into by accident. I never, ever thought I'd be a coach. I never thought I knew enough, but I get so much joy out of seeing my athletes succeed. It's definitely something that I'd like to focus more on. As I said, I coach 6 people at the moment, and I really do enjoy that a lot. I'd definitely like to try to do something, not necessarily just with triathlon or the actual doing of the sport, but it could be in, I don't know, whether it's organising events or getting involved with the union or the professional part of it as Triathlon Australia or something like that. Or I don't know. There's so many opportunities. I'm quite good with marketing and branding. Maybe I could help some athletes with their branding, stuff like that. I'm not sure, but I would definitely like to try to do something with it. But whether that's possible, time will tell. Yeah.
So the only thing to say is all the best, I guess.
Thanks for that, mate.
Yeah. Thanks for your time. It took a little bit longer than we anticipated, I guess.
That's all good. I've got to go and record my podcast now, so.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice roll into anything else you want to share. Maybe a new podcast that you're having that you would like to tell people about.
So me and my friend Robbo, he's a Kiwi guy as well. We started up our own podcast. We call it Think Fit. Basically, the two of us combined have lost about 100 kilos, and we're both pretty competitive age group athletes now. But we just talk shit about things, fitness and stuff like that. And because as I've sort of alluded to during this, I think fitness and weight loss and diet and nutrition and stuff can be quite complicated. And we didn't do anything drastic to lose our weight and live the way we live now. We just, as I sort of said, we think fit. And so we try to share as much information as we can in a no nonsense, no bullshit, easy to understand way, and hopefully have fun doing it. So that's the sort of, that's what we're trying to do. So yeah, if you're interested in listening to an Australian and a Kiwi talk a bit of rubbish about sport and fitness, give us a listen. That'd be great.
Alrighty. Okay, I will post this one online within a couple of days. And
fantastic.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you.
That will be the first English interview and English episode on my podcast. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah, excellent. Thanks, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks for your time. Have a good one. Bye.